Urgent, a triumph for the Ukrainian Armed Forces near Dobropillia. Our troops have trapped the Russians in 4 encirclements at once. It's hard to believe. Sumy region has turned into a brutal meat grinder. The enemy is whining. Z-channels are loudly shouting everywhere about the need to retreat. It's carnage in the Kherson region. An enemy boat has sunk. The operation has been foiled. Russian commanders are leading their army to destruction. The front line is heating up. More on this ahead. Watch until the end. Hello, this is Ukraine Today. I'm Darina Hutsakalo, and here are the latest events. A dramatic turn of events at the front. In the Dobropillia direction, the enemy found itself trapped in 3 large pockets at once. This information was confirmed by the head of the Assault Units Department, Valentin Manko.
On this section of the front, Ukrainian assault troops are carrying out one of the most successful operations in recent months. The enemy is trying to advance, but our units are methodically grinding down their forces, cutting off reinforcement routes and covering them with crossfire.
The military emphasized that the Russians have thrown their most combat-ready units into the frontline meat grinder, including special forces. However, even the elite were unable to stop the pressure from the Ukrainian assault troops.
The close quarters battles are intense. Clashes continue, but the casualty ratio speaks for itself. On average, it's 1 to 5 in Ukraine's favor, and in some areas the ratio is even higher.
Moreover, the enemy is surrendering en masse. According to Valentin Manko, this operation is already becoming an example for military science of how coordinated actions by several strike groups can turn the tide on a strategic front. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian Armed Forces have switched to turbo mode, clearing an important settlement of Russians.
In the Pokrovsk direction, during operations conducted by the 225th Separate Assault Regiment, the settlement of Pankivka in Donetsk region has been cleared.
It seems our forces have also managed to pin down the occupiers in the Sumy region. According to OSINT channels, a new encirclement is developing.
Sumy region, Oleksivka, the forces of the 78th and 71st Brigades managed to take the communists' cauldron. Be good. The Z publics also shouted loudly that the situation was truly catastrophic.
Everything is going well in Oleksivka. For now, we'll call this the operational environment. And the Polisia guys there are already on the verge of...
The Russians admit that Ukrainian forces are counter-attacking with unprecedented strength and are already complaining that the situation at the front now resembles the spectacular rout of the Russian army near Kindrativka.
Oleksivka will have to be surrendered. It's only a matter of time. And it's a question of how many people will have to be lost before that is realized.
And in addition, yet another spectacular success from our side. Naval aviation destroyed a Russian boat in the Kherson region.
The Navy destroyed another high-speed boat of the Russian Black Sea Fleet, which was attempting to deliver an airborne unit to the Tendrivska Spit.
The result of the special operation is impressive. 7 occupiers were eliminated and 4 more were wounded. And on top of that, there is total panic among the enemy troops and whining with pleas to return back to the swamps. The front line is blazing with unprecedented intensity. The occupiers are pushing toward Kupiansk like madmen, risking getting trapped. Kostiantynivka is under real threat. The ring around the city could close at any moment. But Ukrainian forces did not allow the enemy to play out this scenario. The counterattack changed the balance of power. Pokrovsk has become a real stumbling block for the Russian army. Enemy units are collapsing on several fronts at once, unable to withstand the pressure. Meanwhile, the main intelligence directorate struck blows that have left the Kremlin unsettled. The latest Buk M3 and the Orion drone have been destroyed, and this is just the beginning of a long list of losses for the occupiers. What happened next is covered in the report.
The occupiers are trying to break through the Ukrainian defense. The Russians are advancing simultaneously on 5 sections of the front. For example, in the Velikomikhaylivka direction in the Zaporizhzhia region, the enemy is actively preparing for the offensive phase. The main goal of the occupiers is to reach the village of Verbov.
We were already aware that there would inevitably be some kind of significant assault-related actions. Honestly, we didn't expect the enemy to attack on such a broad front.
The situation is a bit better in the Novopavlivka direction. Here, our defenders managed to take control of the city of Filia. Previously, it had repeatedly come under attack from the enemy, who tried to seize control of it. But now the positions are being held by the armed forces of Ukraine. This tactical strongpoint, as the military explains, is extremely important for the armed forces of Ukraine because it allows them to monitor the movement of enemy infantry and equipment. The situation in the Pokrovsk direction is difficult but stable. The main fighting there is concentrated in the area of Volodymyrivka. The armed forces of Ukraine control most of the settlement. But the enemy does not stop, strikes with glide bombs, tries to change the tactical situation, and may attempt to push through our lines. At the same time, Ukrainian units are conducting counterattacks to the southeast of Sofiivka to regain control over the local tree lines.
The enemy is not completely stupid. That's why with every assault, they probably conduct some kind of update as well. And they always take what works and use it next time. And what doesn't work, they don't do it again. So really, in this case, they started working very actively. There was very active cooperation among the FPV drone operators, and also very active cooperation with reconnaissance UAVs like the Zala type. And then the Lancets took off. So the enemy is reacting very actively, very actively.
In the Kostiantynivka direction, the Russian army is trying to gain a foothold in the dacha areas in front of the city, amassing forces and equipment for a breakthrough. However, our fighters are systematically targeting the occupiers, so for now, the location remains in a so-called gray zone. The key vector for the Russians right now is the southeastern flank. That is exactly where the main strike on the city could begin. The further course of the fighting depends on our ability to timely detect and eliminate concentrations of enemy forces.
The artillery performed very well. Yes, that is correct. A great deal of that light automotive equipment was brought into the area. And unfortunately, a significant portion of it was subsequently destroyed, having been blown up by mines that had been placed. After all, as a normal regular brigade, especially in terms of our engineering capabilities, we always make it a point to ensure the front line is equipped very well.
The fighting does not subside in the Siversk-Lyman direction either. Dronivka, Siversk itself, and the surrounding villages on the approaches to the city came under attack. Active fighting is also ongoing in Zarichne. Neither we nor the enemy have stable control over the territory there. At the same time, special forces of the main intelligence directorate struck an enemy surface-to-air missile system. The GUR fighters detected and successfully hit the Russian invaders' Bukom 3 system. The cost of the SAM system ranges from $40 to $50 million. Today, the Kremlin also lost another one of Putin's expensive military toys. This time, it was an Orion strike reconnaissance UAV. Its operational range is about 300 kilometers, and the estimated cost of the downed Ironbird is over $5 million. Ukrainian drones recently flew into more Russian oil refineries. The UAVs attacked a whole series of Russia's oil processing facilities and enemy military-industrial complex sites. The largest methanol production plant in the Russian city of Gubaka, Permkrai, was hit. The strike on the occupiers' key chemical infrastructure, located more than 1,600 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, came as a real shock to the Kremlin. The Kirov oil refinery in the Leningrad region was also hit. According to the Russians, 3 drones were shot down in the area of the city of Kirishi, but their debris caused a fire on the premises of the facility. However, eyewitness videos tell a different story. Footage from the refinery looks more like a direct drone strike than damage from debris at the oil processing plant. The Kirishi oil refinery is considered one of the largest in Russia, and before the arrival of Ukrainian drones was capable of processing about 20 million tons of oil per year. Unfortunately, things were also loud the previous day in the Kiev region. In the middle of the night, explosions were heard on the railway there. Powerful flashes and repeated sounds of explosions were heard in the area of the village of Kalinivka. As it turned out, shells detonated there during transportation by rail. A series of explosions damaged the overhead contact system, causing dozens of departures to be delayed, and now trains are rerouted around the damaged section. By a random coincidence, the passenger train Kharkiv-Przemysl was at the epicenter of the explosion. After the emergency stop, hundreds of passengers were urgently evacuated from the scene to a forest belt. Fortunately, no one was seriously injured, and after a few hours, the train continued its journey along the route.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Meanwhile, the Russians have one more reason to worry. The Dozor A1 drone has taken to the skies. It's not just a reconnaissance drone, it's an intelligent machine that independently identifies priority targets and turns the sky into a deadly trap for the enemy. Russian German drones are falling one after another, and the losses of the Russian army are growing like an avalanche. Panic within the occupiers' units is only intensifying. Ukrainian technologies have once again proven to be one step ahead. Artificial intelligence has accomplished what seemed like science fiction just yesterday, changing the course of events on the front line. What other secrets does the Dozor A1 hold? Don't miss out in the following report.
New technologies, new challenges. Artificial intelligence, having already won over advanced gadget users, is now being fully utilized in warfare. Today, almost no modern drone is produced without this technology. Ukrainians, of course, are among the leading UAV designers. Yes, our developers are already actively testing a new interceptor drone. The Ukrainian company Varta is working on implementing an autonomous system for detecting and tracking enemy reconnaissance UAVs and FPV drones for interceptor drones based on artificial intelligence.
Certain components of the artificial intelligence system are indeed already being used in the war that Russia unleashed against Ukraine.
Ukraine is defending itself with technologies that help save human resources. When we talk about time, Ukraine is defending itself by using technological components that make it possible to maximize the efficiency of drones, especially in the final meters as they approach their target, when manual control over the device is already lost.
It is reported that the drone will be called Varta Dozor A1 and is already undergoing its final phase of testing. Its main task will be to destroy Russian strike UAVs, which are launched daily against peaceful cities in Ukraine.
We're talking about Geran, Gerber, Parvodia, and other drones. Currently, Russia is capable of producing and deploying 5,000 to 6,000 such drones per month. That's the situation. The largest attack we've seen so far involved up to 500 drones. But in order to carry out such an attack, Russia needed at least 3 to 4 days to accumulate them.
It has been stated that the Dozor A1 will be able to independently detect and destroy enemy FPV and reconnaissance UAVs even under electronic warfare conditions. This means the drone can be used directly on the front line, where there are plenty of targets for it literally every minute, since Russia has recently significantly increased its use of drones.
After successfully striking an enemy aircraft or drone, it will then detonate, and the resulting cloud of shrapnel proceeds to destroy the enemy drone.
However, drone warfare, as they say, one-on-one, still allows for the possibility of a miss. No matter how hard artificial intelligence tries, some Russian drones are also equipped with countermeasures. That's why engineers are already working on improving the Dozor A1. According to publications by Militarny, there are also plans to integrate with situational awareness systems in the future, in particular with the Delta system. If implemented in the future, this will allow a single operator to control a group of 5 to 7 interceptors, creating the concept of a so-called small sky air defense segment, where interceptor drones will play a key role. Russian designers are also trying to catch up with our engineers. One of the enemy's new developments is the BM-35 kamikaze drone. A video of its use in the center of Sumy recently appeared online. Our experts are currently studying the characteristics of this UAV. It is still unknown what kind of warhead it can be equipped with. However, the lawnmower engine and the propeller-driven thrust system indicate that the drone does not fly far and will not be used against military targets, but was clearly designed specifically to terrorize civilians in frontline cities.
It is important to understand that we are currently fighting against an incredibly dangerous and relentlessly aggressive enemy, an adversary who shows a complete disregard for human life. Therefore, it is absolutely essential that we proceed with extreme caution regarding all of the developments that are happening there. Modern equipment can exist on the territory of the Russian Federation. Russia can circumvent sanctions to produce prototypes. They cannot circumvent sanctions when it comes to mass production, when there is a need to produce 1,000 units. They are demonstrating an inability to manufacture drones independently.
The results of the work of Ukrainian experts who examined the remains of the BM-35 at the site of impact confirm this thesis. As a result, about half of the components are of foreign manufacture. The drone's design contains at least 41 foreign components, including ones from Switzerland, the USA, and Taiwan. At the same time, most of the parts come from China. According to analysts, one of the significant levers of influence on the situation could be the strengthening of US and European sanctions, as well as stricter enforcement of existing restrictions. After all, the more Russian loopholes are closed, the fewer drones will end up flying over the heads of Ukrainians. And at the same time develop our own technology so that for every new terrorist attack, the Russians receive an appropriate response.
How do you assess the successes of the armed forces of Ukraine at the front? Share your opinion in the comments, hit the like button under the video, and stay up to date with the main news. There are almost 465,000 of us subscribers, and the number keeps growing. See you!